Spurs lost at home in road jerseys. I've never understood wearing black at home, but that's the modern NBA. 133-126. Took it 2 overtimes to do it. We had several chances to win, but Tyrese Maxey and his 51 carried the 76ers to the victory. They're a hot basketball team. They did it without Joel Embiid. That's a team that's finding their depth and headed toward playoffs and really on a much different level for the Spurs at the beginning of the game. And it felt like it kind of in the first quarter. Spurs gave up 30 and looked like a sieve on defense. And then the second quarter rolled on and the light switch came on. And man, oh man, that's the best second quarter I think they've played all season. They hung 40 on them. Yeah.
It was another one of those, if this and that, but this, but that. Just another kind of frustrating way the Spurs have gone about this. I mean, they find a way to lose in the most heartbreaking sort of contests. And you just, if half of those had gone their way this year, it feels like they'd have, I don't know, 25 wins, 30 wins right now. You know what I mean? But they just have this immense talent for finding the right combination of things to lose when the game matters the most.
Well, they got almost okey-doked on one play. Victor had at least one shot, maybe two, to win it. But, neither here nor there. It's a loss. But it's the way that they're playing. I hate to keep pulling on this thread. But they're better without Devin and Jeremy, right? Right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that they're better, but they are.
They're better.
No, I think they're looser. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But that isn't better. I mean, the analogy we've used is they took the donut off the bat. You know what I mean?
Different? Why are they freer?
I think because it can be Wemby and the Wembettes. They're not Wembettes. They're too evolved for that. They're too talented. They're too skilled. They know too much. You know what I'm saying? Like they've seen too much NBA for them to fall completely in line with the Wembett way. Does that make sense? Like, it's, I don't want to say it's that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but it's so much easier to teach puppies new tricks, right? And so it's easier to kind of mold everything around Wemby when the moldable assets have a higher level of malleability. And Devin and Keldon don't have that. They're just too tenured.
Whose fault is this? Is it theirs?
It's just time's fault. It's just time. It's just circumstance. It doesn't have to be anybody's fault. It's just time and circumstance. I mean, and I would also offer that we shouldn't read too much into a double overtime loss against the Sixers without Joel Embiid.
You're right.
No, but if Joel Embiid's playing, they probably crush the Spurs. And then we're not sitting here saying, "Oh, are they really better without Devin and Keldon?" You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. Because the game wouldn't have been that close. So the context of everything matters.
I will give you that, and I think every game over the last week, it's very difficult to draw absolute conclusions because of the circumstances we're in. This is the end of the season. There are some teams that don't give a crap, and we're playing those. So, if the franchise's intent is to fail and the player's intent is to put good tape on to save themselves and make some more money, the outcome could be not the better team, doesn't win the game. It's just circumstances. So I understand that some of this is being done against lessers and difference and backups and things like last night with no Embiid. But I'm talking about what I just see. My eyes tell me that offensively, this team has a better flow. That offensively, the ball doesn't stick. Wemby is in a lot greater control, no doubt. And that has its own problems. I'm not saying it's entirely better because there's a lot of turnovers. Victor, you're killing me sometimes. But he's better than he was. But this offense looks different. Defensively, I see better help. I see a little bit better athleticism, which I didn't think I'd say. It's just different, and to some extent, it's better. So when I look at it different and better, and I go, well, if these old dogs that aren't old, they're just old enough. What happens if I go spend a bunch of money on an older dog that ain't all that willing to change either?
I think that's different though, because they've experienced enough to know that change is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have to have
I
in life
agree.
some kind of stubbornness, that leaves or departs by way of maturity, right? There's a lot of people who think they know everything in any walk of life, and you finally reach a point where you say, I don't know everything, and I need to, I either need help or I need to ask, or whatever the
Or I
case may
want
be.
out.
Or I want out. Yeah, like, or the everything you thought you wanted isn't actually everything. And so I don't know that it's not apples for apples in terms of like every older dog is just impossible to is reluctant to, being adjusted or being molded. And so it's the right combination and confluence of factors. And so that's why you're looking for, is it Trae Young, or whoever the case may be. It has to be the right kind of pieces to put in place for the overall machine to continue to thrive.
I'm with you. And I would understand the fact that they would be coming into a circumstance understanding what their role will be, while Devin and Keldon and Jeremy have had their roles kind of defined for them after they got. I mean, Victor got here and the world changed. So, I don't want to blame anybody. And sometimes your game just doesn't fit, no matter how much you try. You can love each other and have a great time off the court, but every time I want to do X, you do Y, and I can't figure out why, and no matter how much we do this together, it just isn't working. So there might be some of that, but it is a genuine concern. And when you look at the individual talent, Rudolph was coming across the brigade bar, and a lot of you are too, saying, well, defending each one of these guys, and every one of them has every right to be defended. They're talented kids. Devin, first and foremost. I don't think we're better without him. We shouldn't be. But it appears in some measures we are. Jeremy is the glue guy. No, Rudolph is not an individual ball defender, but he is a great team defender, or as good as we've got. Great's a difficult word to use when you use our defense, but he's as good as the Spurs have. Could defend on the ball, or 3 or 4 up to 4 positions. We know what Devin's capable of offensively. I'm not saying these guys are good. All I'm saying is when I watch them now, sure as hell a lot more fun.
I wouldn't say fun. I would, but that's, somewhat circumstantial. I would say smooth, right? It feels so much more smooth. And that being said, they still lost, and they still lost when Wemby had a chance to win it himself. And they still lost because they gave up an incredibly well-designed, albeit, but a play with 1.6 or whatever seconds left from Tyrese Maxey. I mean, so they still lost. Like, we can't just cherry pick and say, well, this moment was good and that moment was fine and whatever. So the problem still exists. The infection still, percolates within the collective body here. And that's not Devin's fault. That's not Keldon's fault. That's not even Wemby's fault, although Wemby is the one who missed the game-winning shot. We still don't have that moment from him this season. I don't know if we'll get it before it's over. But some things are more fun. Yes. Some things are more smooth. But you know what else isn't? Like, name the dude who you can depend on when Wemby's not on the floor right now without these guys.
Well, offensively, Malachi is feeling pretty comfortable right now, but defensively, my God, I'm mad at Wemby on his turnovers. Malachi, you are a matador. I mean, how many layups have you watched? How many? Last night, how many? 51, and Malachi witnessed a fair amount of those. So on the offensive side of the ball, who do I like?
By the way, don't shortchange it.
52. I'm sorry. I'm not kidding. I watched him in high school, and I saw better defense on him.
This is the kind of thing where it's, I mean, we
19
made
wins,
fun of
Cujo.
Wemby.
Let's not sell this team short.
We made fun of this team for losing, for Wemby. We made fun of Wemby rather for having Embiid dominate him, right? I mean, so this was the Embiid. It wasn't like Embiid played and that just opened things up for Maxey to go off. Like this was the Tyrese Maxey show, and nobody did anything about it. And you're over here saying, "Well, yeah, they're so much better." No, they're not. I mean,
Well,
it
they
just
are.
looks
Well,
different.
maybe that's it. Maybe the look is different because it
You're
just feels like that. And let's put the second quarter in a bubble because I know Pop would. I'd like to reinvigorate whatever caused all that. But what caused it was turnovers, fast breaks, wide open, and hot shooting. You don't always get the hot shooting, but everything else you can kind of manufacture. And that happened with the dudes that we've been calling our future watching. And it's happened more than once. I don't know, RJ. I think that as we evaluate this, the rest of the NBA saw it a long time before we did. That it doesn't matter right now who's out there with Wemby. The best thing that whoever out there with Wemby can do is just get out of the damn way
and play defense. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean,
and that's as good as that offense looks, the defense can look like it did in the first quarter, where it's just wide lanes to the rim, wide lanes.
So we didn't mention, or we haven't mentioned yet, that they did beat New Orleans on Friday night.
Yes, and
they
without
deserve
again.
I mean, and that's one of those, like, I don't know. It seems like, you know how sometimes with a little kid, you've got to say, okay, they won't eat their strawberries, they won't eat their bananas, and then you blend them up in a smoothie, and the kid's like, wow, this is awesome.
Well, it's the same. Maybe there's some of that.
It's the same thing. It's the same overall.
New Orleans
ingredients
was beaten up. They didn't have half their dudes either. So I'm not going to say that this team is elevated in their level of play. They ain't that much better. But what I am saying, what I'm watching is, and what I think we should be figuring out is, the people that play with Wemby have got to get out of the way. That's maybe
the biggest difference, I think, with a lack of Devin and Keldon on the
So here's the other side, and Cougs hit it. When Wemby gets to do what he wants to do, you get 25 turnovers. Now, they had a lot of extra minutes to give you some extra turnovers, but that's what they got.
Do you know how many he had off the top of your head?
I would say off the top of my head, 7.
What if I told you that was low?
See?
Victor Wembanyama on Sunday night against the
Sixers, some extra time to offer that to you, but yes.
So for context, 43 minutes. 9 turnovers.
Yeah,
dude.
You are. I'm telling you, you're right. That where there is a touche moment where you go, well, look at this. You go, yeah, okay.
Do you know how many turnovers the Sixers had as a team?
Well, that's because our defense is awful. They're a better team, so they're not going to make bad passes and dribble it off their feet like we do. So with that, I'd say maybe 12, 13.
10.
So,
I mean, and some of that is luck, right? Some of that is weird crap. Some of that is your shoe was in the way.
Yeah.
But some of that is Victor, take care of the ball, dude.
Yes,
but that's the price, right? Like, I get it that, we all want to sit here and say, well, I want the turnover list, Wemby, but I want Devin and Keldon to get out of the way at the right times. Like this isn't a lab where you can design the exact particular elements of the game that you want. And so you kind of have to pick a sword and live and die by it. And I think this is the best sword so far that we've discovered this year. And that's not an indictment or a demerit against Devin or Keldon or whoever, right? Like, but I would much rather live and die with Wemby in charge and Wemby kind of facilitating everything than any other way. It at least makes more sense when you lose like this, because you say, okay, well, you know what? They just lost, or Wemby made this mistake or whatever. But there will come a day where the status quo balances out and equilibrium is reached, and you're winning and losing in these particular moments.
Goldfinger on the Brigade bar. It's part of the tournament. Tony Parker had tons of turnovers, and he has a gold jacket. That's true. And again, he's young, and that ball has to travel a long way from that 7'4" and ever growing perch. So those turnovers are going to play a role. And I'm not saying they shouldn't keep these guys or continue working with them. But what I am saying, I hope these guys are sitting watching and going, you know what? Lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I don't think leading is what I'm going to be able to do. So I'm going to have to follow or get out of the way.
Not everybody's good at following, and I think that's
Yes.
part of the problem here.
You nailed it right there. So they sit where are we at? 19 wins?
19 wins. Need two
One
more
away.
to,
One away
to completely avoid history.
one away just to kiss your sister. And then, there are worse kisses to have to do. And 2 away to avoid infamy altogether. 2 away from just being a footnote. What's the schedule? And Rudolph, I see you. And I get you now.
So the Memphis is next tomorrow. That's a real opportunity.
That is a genuine opportunity. Don't let your guard down.
Well, there are 4 left, and if you want to avoid history altogether, you got to go 500 the rest of the way, right? Like, you don't want to even tie. You've got to get to 21.
21 is you're just a footnote.
At Memphis on Tuesday. This is the final week of Spurs basketball, believe it or not. So a week from today, you will have no more Spurs games for the year, well, at least for the season. So Memphis tomorrow. At Oklahoma City on Wednesday. You're not getting that one.
That's gonna be a tough one, yeah.
Denver on Friday.
That's going to be imminently even tougher given what we just did.
And then Detroit on Sunday. That's the big one.
Okay. With the 2 we got. Okay, I see. We got 2
the bookends here.
Now my problem is I still stand by the fact I want the Austin team to take it. I still stand by the fact on the 82nd game after a season like this. We truck in the Austin boys to see if they can ice the cake. Oh my goodness, man! Edwin's showing us the highlight of Malachi Brenham getting okey doked backwards for a layup to close out the fourth quarter.
I don't know if I want the Spurs to be going for 20 or 21 on Sunday. I don't know what would be funnier at this point. It would be. I think the funniest possible thing is if they lose every night and then they literally need Sunday just to tie the record.
Oh,
that would be. And then the celebration for tying the fewest wins in franchise history and not having the worst would be so fun.
Back in the day, they legit used to play a third place game at the NCAA tournament. That they would play, the losers on Saturday would play a third place game. The most anticlimactic, useless game of all time. We could be heading towards something like that.
I mean, we deserve it.
I mean, just an anticlimactic climax to the season. Can they? I'll ask, if we can't do it with the Austin team, can we wear brown?
I'm done with that, dude.
Just to end the season the right way. Wear brown in Detroit.
Wear brown and then throw them in the incinerator.
Yeah, and then just throw them into water. Just throw them in the lake. They'll blend in. The brown, as soon as it hits the water, you won't see it anymore. But wear that in Detroit. It's a roadie, right?
It's at home.
Oh,
it's at home.
That's even better. We'll throw it in the river. Wear the brown, and we will burn it out front. Keep the polos, though. Some of that stuff's a keeper, but the warm-up's got to go.
Keep the logo.
Keep some of that stuff, yeah.
The logo looks great on like a white polo or a white cap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're super good with that.
I've grown on
But, yeah, the jerseys are disgusting.
They've set it on fire, but and maybe that's enough to have our guys wear it. Because the Austin guys, by rote and by map, they can't wear the Santa because they're Austin. They have the SATX, the black jerseys we wore yesterday. I hope you heard all of what we just talked about. And if you didn't, you're going to have to set your alarm. But best way to do that is subscribe. We call it Talking Silver and Black. It's on our YouTube feed. If you want to make sure you get all the notifications required for such things, make sure you're subscribed to it. So we're in Memphis tomorrow night, a last visit to Beal.
Wait, say this again?
We're in Memphis tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yes.
Our last visit to Beal Street.
And then at Oklahoma City.
And then back to OKC. And our final home game.
Denver on Friday, and then Detroit on Sunday.
So
you tell me what your TV will be tuned into on Sunday. The Spurs maybe going for 20 or 21 against Detroit, or the Masters?
Man, I can't tell you that. Honestly. If they are playing to secure their place in history, I might have to go.
Equal levels of drama on Sunday afternoon.
I might have to go see them secure their place in history.
You just
So
you need to be the like comical, they hit win number 20, you just like rip your shirt off. Yes!
something like that. So
Take us out of the record books.
I might have to set aside some time on Sunday to go witness the greatness that is the San Antonio Spurs. So I can say I was there.
Tell your grandkids.
So kids, this little brown swath that I pulled out of the fire, I was there to witness it.
This was Trey Jones's jersey.
That
that
I
night.
badmouthed him. It turned out that his jersey wouldn't even burn.